Hello, welcome to the Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Mo and this is my channel FPL Inkling to bring you guys all the best and the latest content for FPL for this season 2021-2022. What's today's video all about? Well, what's the biggest decision we've got left to made in the last couple of days before that deadline for Game Week 1 is our final changes to the team of our Game Week selection. So, what's the heart of the team? What's the engine? What makes our management life easier when they perform well? It's the premium midfielders. So I thought, you know what, let's wait till a bit longer or closer to the time of the start of the season and I'll go through my opinion of who I think are the top 5 best premium midfielders on the game at the moment of recording, or at the time of the recording, who are there to be utilised. So before we begin, if you haven't liked this video, give it a like if you like the content and subscribe to FPL Inkling to help me grow and give you guys some more content as we go along this season. So let's not waste any further time, guys. Let's get stuck in. So in terms of the 5 midfielders that I've highlighted, I'll go through them one by one. There's no specific order, guys. This is just the 5 premium best midfielders of the game listed, in my opinion, and I'll be going through their stats and underlying stats and how I think you guys can take advantage of them during the season, early part of the season, mid-season, or later on in the season itself. So let's start with Bruno Fernandes. So Bruno at the moment is owned by 41.3% of managers, £12 million in price, 244 points last season. So this guy was the highest scoring midfielder last season, or actually player in the whole game. He was at number 1. He got 32 returns. That's phenomenal. That's almost 1 return a game, either a goal or an assist, with a banging 6. He's banging, and also along with goals, he's getting the assists as well, winning penalties and obviously scoring the penalties as well. He also got 36 bonus points as well last season, which is an amazing effort by a player who's literally just come in 18 months ago to this league. He's literally hit the ground running. In a season and a half, he's got 26 goals and 22 returns. This is why we can't ignore him. Let's talk about some stats now. In terms of points per match, last season he averaged 6.6 points, which is brilliant, to be fair. In addition, XA, so his expected assists, was 0.32, and his XG, which is expected goals, which was 0.23. Again, great numbers. He was consistent, pretty much the talisman of the United team. In terms of fixtures as well, we can go through what makes him stand out as well. Is United's first 5 fixtures, in my opinion, are actually quite favourable in terms of if you look at them in a perspective or comparison to, let's say, the big so-called big 6 teams from last season in terms of table-wise. They actually do have one of the most favourable fixtures, whether if you compare that to someone like a Man City at the moment, or even a Chelsea, which start from like game week like 7 onwards, they kind of get a bit more challenging. And game week 2, I think they've got Liverpool as well. So in regards to Manchester United, I think with fixtures going on as well, his general output, I think he's someone definitely to consider. Within all my drafts that I've made, I've always had Bruno along with Salah in there as well, and then I've built my team around it. Now, what makes Bruno stand out for me? He wants to play the minutes, he doesn't like being rotated, and he wants to be part of pretty much everything that United do in terms of going forward, bringing it in terms of, game speed, taking ownership, corners, free kicks, penalties. He is there, part of the move. He kind of drags defenders away, draws in fouls, and he can literally change a game in literally matter of minutes. And literally for a Manchester United player to have that impact after such a long time, it literally drives other players to raise their game as well. So that's why for me, he's a premium midfielder, and it's definitely worth considering bringing him in your Game Week 1 squad. And number 2, everyone's favourite at the moment, the highest owned midfielder in the game at the moment of recording, 231 points last season. So he finished behind, I think, number 3. He became the 3rd highest point scorer behind Kane and Bruno, 12.5 mil. Now, the reason for his high ownership is basically his initial fixtures, which we'll go through in a moment. But in terms of returns last season, 28 returns, which is unreal, to be fair. The level of consistency he has shown. 4 seasons back-to-back, he's got over 225 points. I would say 200, but he's not got anything less than 225. So over 225 points, season in, season out. This is why he's 12.5 mil. You know what you're going to get with him. He's consistent. He's not going to be rotated. He pretty much plays most minutes. He's on penalties. He takes corners. He takes free kicks. He's everywhere. Again, this is why he's premium. This is why, in my opinion, he's also essential as to be part of your draft as well. We're going to go through a few numbers as well. In terms of points per game last season, slightly lower than Bruno, but 6.2 points per game respectively. In terms of XA, so expected assists was 0.18 and expected goals was 0.48, which was pretty much damn impressive over a course of a season. To have that expected goals and expected assists is a real achievement for a player of Salah's ability, and playing for such an amazing club like Liverpool. It's a treat to watch him week in, week out. Now, what stands out for him is the fixtures in the first 8 game weeks. He'll play all 3 promoted sides. And look at the sea of green. You've got Norwich, Burnley, yes, Chelsea game week 3, which is a bit difficult. Leeds might be a bit of a challenging game, but then Brentford, Crystal Palace, Man City would be a great game, Watford and Brighton in game week 10. Again, in the first 10 game weeks, they do play Chelsea, United, Man City, but the other games are absolutely fruitful in terms of someone like Salah and his ability. But he can go big. I mean, last season there was a game against Crystal Palace where I had him as captain. Liverpool won 7-0, I think, that game. He came in about 58 minutes. And he got, I think, 2 assists and a goal. And he became out of the match as well. And he got me 17 points that game week. It was ridiculous. So this guy can literally, even if he's not starting in a rare game, he does have the ability to come in and basically impact the game with such strength and force as well. So that's why Salah is so key and essential. And I think, if you are going to be creating drafts, guys, he is probably going to be the first name on your game sheet. Or team sheet, I should say. At number 3, we'll go for Kevin De Bruyne. Now, Kevin De Bruyne, earlier today, it's come out with the news that he has picked up a knock or an injury for his ankle. There is a 25% chance of him playing at the moment. But we'll go through some stats as well. This is obviously 6 days ahead of the first game. So let's just go through a bit of stats underlying and why this guy is literally considered one of the best in the world at what he does. So last season, there's not really much to go by in terms of because of minutes and lack of minutes he played due to injury. And near the end, because of the number of games of cup competitions, he was getting rested because they pretty much had won the league by then anyway by Guardiola. So this guy, he can literally change a game in a split second. His delivery, I think he's got the best cross in the world. He whips it with pace and he's always forward thinking. 40% of managers own him at the moment. If he's fit, I think there'll be more players that will actually, more managers that will actually sign him up as a player, because there will be a point of the season where he's going to hit rock solid form and he's going to be a must own for everyone. Now, what stands him out? He's 12 mil, so he's the same price as Bruno Fernandes and Mane. 18 returns last season. It doesn't show much, but when I go through the smaller stats in finer detail, you'll understand what impact he has. So he had 5.6 points per game last season, which wasn't as high as Salah and Fernandes. But his XA was 0.46 and expected goals was 0.34. So again, he can really, prove it as well. I think they didn't have a potent striker, so that's really affected his output as well. So I think if they can get someone like a Harry Kane, who's a recognised striker, and he was playing out of position last season, I don't think it suits him playing a number 9. He needs to be behind, setting the goals up, and look at his assists the seasons before was 23. He needs to play in his position where he's noted for. I think basically playing him in the number 9 position is wasting his talent and not making use of what he can actually achieve in himself. But basically, for me, with Grealish being signed, if they can, sign Kane or a Haaland doesn't seem that's favourite at the moment. But if they can get that number 9 sorted, I'm surprised they haven't gone for someone like a Lukaku. If Kane's being so difficult to get from Manchester City, I mean, maybe considering Lukaku 100 mil for Man City, how devastating would he be with the service he'd get from his countrymen such as Kevin De Bruyne? So again, the season before he got 36 returns and got 250 points. So it shows that when he is on form, when he's fit to play, this guy can be devastating indeed. But in terms of fixtures, one of the reasons why a lot of players or FPL managers are being put off by owning Manchester City players is their fixtures list. Now, one thing I want to clarify from my own end, I mean, when it comes to Manchester City, I generally don't look at the fixture. I know for a fact that they will turn up, they will play well. Defensively, they'll be sound, and offensively, they'll definitely go for goals. They're the one rare team that I never see playing for a draw. They will always be playing for the win, even if they're away at places like Anfield, Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, the Emirates. Wherever they go, they will literally give their 100% or more to win the game, not just to get a point out of it. They want to get the 3 points. That's what makes them so lethal. And I think, if he can actually replicate that in these games, there's a Tottenham game which is up front. I admit that will be a tough game. But then Norwich, Arsenal, Leicester, Southampton, they seem difficult fixtures, but for me, I reckon Man City as the champions should be able to overcome those fixtures. Then Chelsea and Liverpool. But then they've got a nice run of Burnley, Brighton, Hove Albion and Crystal Palace. So Kevin De Bruyne, there's no reason why he can't actually give you returns there. And he can't score goals either during that period. At number 4, we're going to go through Sadio Mane. So Mane at the moment, I think he's being overlooked because of his price. I reckon if Mane was priced at 11 mil, I reckon a lot more people would consider owning him, including myself. I think a lot to do with that is because of his last season's form, and I think people expected more from him. Which is understandable because that coming at 12 mil, I don't really understand why there was such a price. There's not been a price decrease from him because he's gone from 220 points to 176. And in terms of minutes, he played more minutes last season. He had 22 returns, but I don't think it was Mane's finest season. He didn't really show much great behaviour as well in terms of Klopp as well. He used to show frustration being subbed off. So I wasn't too keen on Mane from last season. Again, if you want to go differential, that's entirely your choice. But for me personally, I would not want to spend 12 mil on Mane. I'd rather use that on someone like a De Bruyne or a Bruno Fernandes. But if a differential is what you want to go for, then by all means, that's entirely your choice. And I fully understand your decision. So for me personally, he's not on penalties. Not really much on set piece in terms of free kicks either. So that's what kind of makes him a bit more, I'd say less, I wouldn't say less kind of like, desirable for me, but I would generally prefer someone like a De Bruyne or Salah and Bruno, who I know who are on set pieces. But with Mane, his expected assists are 0.18 last season and expected goals were 0.49, which is the highest out of the midfielders that I'm going for. So he has a good finish and he got average of 5 points a game last season as well. But in terms of fixtures, they do have good fixtures, so I'm surprised not more managers have decided to double up on Mane. I generally thought about 10% of managers would own him, but 3.7%, that's quite a differential to be fair. And again, it's probably to do with the fact that people have doubled up on Bruno and Salah at present. But for me, I reckon there will be a point in the season, maybe even after game week 1, where people decide to take Bruno out. Let's say he doesn't fire in the first game and he doesn't play well against Leeds. There will be a consultation or consideration of doubling up on Liverpool as the games progress forward. Now we'll be looking at Raheem Sterling, priced at 11 mil. 3% of managers own him. Now, there's two ways to look at Raheem Sterling. You can look at the Raheem Sterling in the Premier League, who probably didn't have his best campaign, or you can look at Raheem Sterling from the Euros for England, who was a player of the tournament and his best England tournament ever, in my opinion. I think the 11 mil is what puts people off. I reckon if he was 10.5, that 3% ownership would be at least 30% in my opinion. And the risk of rotation, Pep's roulette has driven people insane over the last couple of seasons. I think that's why people are overlooking a lot of Man City players. And I think the Liverpool fixtures, along with United, are something which is making that happen as well. But we've gone through the Man City fixtures already for Kevin De Bruyne, so we know what they're going to be playing. In terms of returns, he got 19 returns last season, so that's pretty much a return every 2 games. In terms of his expected assists, he was 0.17 and expected goals 0.41. Considering the season before, he played pretty much the same amount of minutes and got 26 returns. So it shows that his form did slightly dip, and Guardiola did kind of lose patience with him near the end of the season. So he did get a bit more rotation. And now with Grealish coming, Mahrez himself, Grealish, there's a lot of competition for the wing positions. Who's going to play where? Foden as well, obviously, who's going to be playing as well. So in terms of Raheem Sterling, again, I would like to know if there are many managers out there at the moment who selected Raheem Sterling and Sadio Mane as differentials. So both of them are owned around 3%. And if they do play big and go big, wow, that would be an amazing increase in your rank. But for me, he's lethal and devastating. I am overlooking him, but I am considering if he does perform and he does get off to a good start, I may consider bringing him in because he was just that good in the Euros this season. You just can't basically overlook this guy at that moment in time as well. So those are the 5 premiums that I'm considering, guys, at the moment. So what defines, if you're a brand new player or you're a beginner at FPL, what does a premium mean? So a premium is basically, premium players are kind of like ranked and priced based on their output from previous seasons or generally how they performed in the FPL game. So a lot of players may not perform well, i.e. last season, such as Mane, compared to the season before, but because of previous amazing stats and ability and kind of like, ability to perform, they are priced in that high bracket of being a premium. So the aim is to get as many premiums in your squad, but also at the same time you want to keep it a balanced squad, because you can get 4 premiums in your squad, but then you'll be putting in players who probably have no gain or no kind of like, advantage in terms of you playing it. You might have 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 3 defenders, but will they have the same output as, let's say, potentially 3, 5.5 defenders in your team? A lot to consider. But generally, the aim is to get at least 2, if not 3 premiums in your squad. If you can get 3 in, that's a great shout, but at least 2 is the way to go. And, a lot of people are going Bruno, Salah at the moment. That could change, obviously, after the first game week, but that's literally the 5 premium midfielders that we're going to go through. We've gone through today, and that is what I think they'll be the highest scoring midfielders as the season progresses. Obviously, there's players like Sancho, Son, Mahrez, and these kind of players who can actually challenge for that over the season. There's no doubt about it. But for me, these are proven FPL players from years gone by, and they have performed at the highest level and have been consistent years in, year out. So that's the reason why I've chosen them, and these are the people you should be considering. So guys, that's the video for the Premier players for this year's FPL game. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with the players I've selected? Is there anyone who I haven't discussed? Let me know. Drop me a comment, guys. Hit the like button if you like this video. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, let's not waste any further time. Hit that subscribe button and be part of FPL Inkling. Also join the league. The code's on the bottom left, guys. And let's have a great season. Till then, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.